Welcome to Ear Biscuits, the podcast where two lifelong friends talk about life for a long time. I'm Rhett.
Yes, and I am Link. This week at the Round Table of Dim Lighting, we're going to help you give a speech, particularly if you are a best man and you want to give a best man speech in a wedding. But I think the knowledge that we're going to drop is going to help you no matter what type of speech you have to give.
Even if it's a worst man speech, which is a new trend now because of the internet.
Oh my God.
I'm kidding.
I could believe you. I could believe you all day, right?
I could believe you.
I could believe you all day. Just keep talking.
Hey, there's a worst man at every wedding, but it's not official. It's just an unspoken thing that everyone knows.
Yeah.
Everyone has a least favorite person in their bridal party.
Oh, you're talking about not just attending the wedding, because that's...
someone who you have to make a groomsman or you have to make a bridesmaid who you really wish you didn't have to, but that person needs a name. Worst man, worst woman. Worst. Worcestershire.
So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about some other stuff. I went to Death Valley.
I heard about that.
All alone.
Uh-huh.
But with my dogs.
Well, so that's not really a solo trip.
So it wasn't really a solo trip. I wanted to tell you a little bit about it, so I'm going to do that right now, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, you ready for that? I just love getting in a rented camper Sprinter van and just driving away from everything that I know and everybody that I know.
Well, hold on. It sounds like you should keep that part to yourself.
I like the idea of going out to the desert all alone and letting my freak flag fly. With no judgment, with no observation. I get it.
God is watching.
If you go out into and you know what? She's fine with that.
That's good.
When you go out into the desert, you can stumble upon people out there in the desert who are just naked, or subsisting. And I think I get it. And I feel the call ever so often to just go back out there and just be with me and my thoughts and my actions.
Because someone has to. It might as well be you.
It might as well only be me. See, it's this type of energy that sends me away.
Right, exactly. Good.
The last solo trip I took, which was at the same time as you, and we were in the same place in Sequoia National Forest, and we passed as two ships in the night, but they were vans.
That were identical.
They were identical
vans.
I actually think I rented the one that you had last time this time, but it didn't have any beeping problems for me.
Did you smell me in it?
No, it was cleaned.
Did you use the awning?
No, I didn't.
That was my mistake.
That was probably it. It was way too windy for the awning. But I took a Jasper on that last trip, and I missed Jade. So this trip I took Jasper and Jade. I got them in their little carrier, in their passenger seat, and they just go to sleep there, or just stare at me, hoping that I'm going to let one of them sit in my lap when we're driving. But no, we can't do that. That's not safe. And safety is on the list of items.
Safety third.
That I'm thinking about. But as you can tell after I tell you the story, it's not number one.
Yep.
We went to, not Death Valley technically, we went to the Panamint Valley, which is one valley over. So it shares the mountain range with Death Valley, but it's on this side, and it was a shorter drive because we were working that morning, and then I was leaving, and the sunset's at 4:30, and you don't like to get to a campsite after dark, especially when you're completely off the grid in a place you've never been, when there's nobody else around. It's just not a good feeling to just show up in the dark.
It does help when you're in the van, though.
Oh yeah, because you can.
I've had that happen a couple of times, and I was just like, okay, I could just see what this looks like in the morning.
I don't think I would go on a solo trip, much less in complete isolation in a place where, if it turns out I wasn't completely isolated and there was a murderous companion on my hill, I like to know that I can be inside of a van and completely locked up, and then I can just crank it up and drive
over him.
over her.
Oh, so God and the companion in this sense are women.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Women usually don't hang out in the woods waiting to murder people. I'm just saying.
Yeah, don't. And I love.
I'm
women
saying
for
that they can do that. They are capable of that. Women are capable of murdering people. I'm just saying they usually don't.
Yeah, statistically speaking.
But I don't want to take that away from them because they can do it.
Right.
They can murder just as good as men.
The fact that they don't is what makes them so great.
Right.
So much better than men.
Yep.
Like us.
That's right. We're constantly trying not to murder people.
Right.
I've almost murdered all of you in the last 30 minutes just since we've been here. I mean, I'm constantly keeping myself from murdering all of you. The fact that I've never killed anybody is just a great credit to me.
Well, I'm glad you gave it to yourself.
Yeah.
There's a ghost town called Ballarat out there. You know, they're looking for gold back in them hills.
How old is when was it ghosted?
I don't know, Rhett.
Well, does it have a gas station?
Oh, no. There's one structure and then, there's two structures. One is like a general store kind of thing and a museum. And there was somebody in there selling like Faygo and koozies and rocks.
Did he know that the town had been ghosted?
I did not talk to him, but yes, from what I can tell, there's no power and there's no cell service. There's nothing. You're completely off the grid there. But there are a few like ramshackled RVs in this area. And the sign when you have to drive through the ghost town, which is just this little general store and another structure labeled jail, which I think was actually the jail back during the gold rush.
What's it called? Ballarat?
Ballarat, Ballarat. And on the sign, it starts pointing different directions. Surprise Canyon this way. I knew I was going through town towards Surprise Canyon to get an isolated but established primitive campsite in the middle of this valley. But the sign also said, enter at your own risk. But I think that's just some gamesmanship from the local.
Weed people out.
Yeah, turn around now. And don't drive over 15 miles per hour because you don't want to kick up dust on these people.
Yep.
They live in the desert, but they don't like dust. So I respect that. I drove through the town because the sun was setting and I needed to get to my spot. And this valley the reason why I didn't go into Death Valley was the timing, but also there's a lot of people in there and there's a lot more rules about where you can camp. But here it was Bureau of Land Management, like you can camp pretty much anywhere there's an established fire ring, or pretty much anywhere. Super, super isolated. Like you look in either direction. There's one road that runs through it, but from where I was, I couldn't see the road and I couldn't see anybody driving on it. And I passed this one big RV that was like down in the middle of the valley in a more accessible place. But by the time I got to where I was gonna get, that RV was like a speck. I just couldn't see anything. And
Is this like a slot canyon kind of situation?
No, it's a very broad, very wide canyon. Yeah, it's just like, and there's hardly anything growing in this particular valley. It's very rocky. And so I camped the first night. Everything was good. A nice little sunset. I get up the next day and I knew that I'd read about Surprise Canyon, which is called that because all of these, it's got water running through it. You know, it's basically the backside of Death Valley, yet it's got these
flash flood.
Well, it's got spring-fed stream running through it.
That's the surprise, that there's a spring?
That's the surprise, is that there's a lot of running water in there.
What was the temperature?
It was pretty much perfect. Like at night, it got into the like 40s, and then it got to like 72 during the day. But the wind was pretty aggressive at times. Might have been 40-mile-per-hour gusts at one point. I had to park the van sideways so that I could sit outside and use the van as a windbreak. And then when I went to sleep both nights, like the whole van was just shaking because of the wind.
And that's why you're so glad you're in a van.
That's why
if you were in a
so
tent,
good. Yeah.
it'd be miserable.
Now if you want to rent one of these vans, especially, I mean, out west, like there's so many places you can drive and camp. Like back east, it's really, you really can't find all these open spaces and do this type of camping.
Doesn't exist.
You have to be on established campsites. So like being isolated is something that I didn't know. I'd never heard anybody doing back in North Carolina.
Well, you can go into the woods.
You can go into the woods, yeah. Yeah. But it's so easy because you're driving this thing. The app is Outdoorsy, the one that I use to like rent the Sprinter van. And then I use iOverlander to find the spots where I camp. And they like people review the spots and mark them, and you can Google Map straight to it, even if you lose cell service, you know. I lost cell service like an hour before I got there. Like that's how isolated this was. I was driving for an hour, driving through a town where there's like no service.
But you got your satellite phone.
I got that little spot on GPS thing, which I used. Now the iPhone update has a satellite communication capability now.
You can send texts?
And it knew that. I had updated actually the night before, and so it said, would you like to send text via satellite? And I said yes, and I tried to text Christy, and it didn't go through. So I don't know.
Does your thing,
if my hardware needs to be
can you text can you text through your satellite thing?
I was not able to.
No,
yes.
The Garmin thing.
Yeah, the Spot X device, has a full keyboard and you can text.
Yeah.
It
and
takes
you can
a
also
while.
like
I think we have the same thing.
send like it creates
can ping
a
it.
website basically that tracks your progress that you can just share with a loved one and be like, this is gonna follow me where I'm at.
This was the thing that I took comfort in when I decided on the next day to go on a little excursion up Surprise Canyon, which I could see it miles away. Like the road looked pretty established going up, just like whoop, and then right in between, right up into this canyon that everything blends together so much that like it's hard to tell where one like mountain ends and another one begins and like where the valleys are in these things because it's so desolate, like beautifully desolate, but still it just all becomes a wash until the sun sets, and then you can start to see dimensionality, right? And so I'm like, I'm going for that dimensionality. And so I start driving, and I mean, it had 4-wheel drive, high clearance, so I was able to like slowly go on this gravel road. But the thing that I read about was how easy it is to get flat tires out there because of the type of, these very sharp rocks. And then if there are flash floods, it exposes sharper rocks. Everything's not worn down, but the road seemed pretty good. And I had my portable tire pump, and I got nervous, and I was like, I'm gonna deflate my tires to reduce the chance of getting a flat tire. And so I did that, and then I started creeping up and going up this canyon, and I mean, it's just a few miles of going up right beside this stream. A couple of places, I'm like driving across the stream. And my armpits are starting to sweat a little bit because I feel like
I don't like
I'm
this.
taking a little bit of a risk here going up here, but the road was established enough, and I was feeling okay, and I was having a good time. So no turn back now. No turn back now. That's what I was saying to myself. I started using shorthand.
These vans, in my experience, they're no FJ Cruiser.
No.
Like my FJ Cruiser could go through anything, and I always felt like I was going to get out of it.
It wasn't technical. It was never a point where like it felt like I needed someone to get out of the van and tell me where to drive.
Right, but
I would never have done that.
Even in 4-wheel drive, sometimes they're
squirrely,
spinning out and stuff. It's
a lot actually. So I was gaining elevation, and it was it started to get more treacherous, and then at one point there was a big thing that I needed to go up, and I saw that I could just turn around. So instead of going up this, I was like, you know what? dogs, we're going to stop here. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to get off the road because there's a place to do that. I'm going to face the other direction towards the exit. I'm going to go around this big rock. It's almost as, well, it's not as big as this table, but it was a turnaround spot around this rock. And the rock was big enough that I couldn't put my arms around it.
You tried to hug it, though.
Well, I'm just trying to give you an idea of how big it is.
That's how lonely you had gotten. Well, when I tried to hug the rock, I couldn't.
I will tell you that later on in the story, I did try to hug the rock.
Okay.
But
right.
it wasn't out of loneliness. So I turned the van around and I park it. And then we start hiking, and we hike not much longer, a quarter of a mile up the road. And then I can see as I come around this corner, there's like two identical Suburbans up there.
Oh, Suburbans made it.
Now, if they were black, I'd have been like, okay, what is this, Secret Service?
Right.
They were white Suburbans.
Okay.
So, but they were identical because they were rentals, which I don't know how these guys did this. And there was one guy there, and I talked to him, and he was like from Kansas City. And him and his boys were doing a Death Valley trip, and then they were leaving once the guys came back from hiking, and they were going to go to Vegas. And
quite a trip.
So these are the only people that I saw and talked to my entire trip, was these guys. It's weird seeing people when you haven't seen people. I hiked up a little bit. They said, we saw a rattlesnake, but there's beautiful waterfalls up here. And I was like, I'm not going to take my dogs up here. There's a rattlesnake. I came back out, and I was thinking, I'm glad I pulled over because they said they were leaving. And so by the time I hiked back down, they had already packed up and they were leaving. I saw their taillights and they were out of there. So then when I get back to the van, after looking around, it's like old mining equipment and stuff up there. Pretty cool, like a lot of relics and whatnot. You see a lot of that in Death Valley. It was a big Surprise Canyon. This guy bought the land because they found gold there, and he brought in all these people, and that's what created the town and just a boom town. But after being there for a couple of weeks up in Surprise Canyon, there was huge flash floods, and it destroyed the entire camp. And the guy had been creating a railroad from Santa Monica. This billionaire dude was trying to build a railroad from there to Santa Monica, and he started in Santa Monica. But he never made it because then there was this flash flood, and the whole endeavor got washed away. These are the type of things that happen.
There's a lot of space between there and Santa Monica.
I know. It's on the sign and everything. I read about it. You think I would make this stuff up? Just to impress you?
It'd be an interesting thing to make up.
Yeah, I probably have some of it wrong, but I know for a fact I'm right about it. Don't look it up. Anyway, I get back in the van, and I've got to work up a slurry to wash my dog's feet because Jasper was walking in the water, and I'm like, I don't know what he could have picked up. I'm just like, so I'm washing him off, then I'm eating something, and then I get in the van, and we finally drive off, and I was already pointed in the right direction. I'd made all these decisions of how I was going to exit before we even went on the hike. And so when I start to pull off, I'm turning back to the right, and I'm not going to go in the stream, and I'm going to take it easy. And then all of a sudden, very quickly, I'm not going. And the first instinct I have, right or wrong, whenever I'm off-roading and I encounter some resistance, is to give it a little bit more gas because you don't want to lose any momentum you have.
Right.
And so I gave it a little gas, and I did not make any progress, but instead I heard this screeching / crunching frustrated metal sound. And I immediately put on the brakes and I was like, oh shit. Oh no. And I immediately I'm like, I'm stuck. And what am I gonna do? Because I'm way up here and these guys have left and there's not gonna be anybody else.
No, you'll be hiking out.
And I said, I turned to the dogs and I said, don't panic. It's really good having dogs there because I have somebody to talk to that is a lot more even keel than me. They didn't panic. I got out of the van and I walked around to the back and remembered that big ass rock that I'd totally forgotten about, that I had driven around. And so then instead
it was right in front of you when you started to go?
It was beside the van when I started to go, but then I turned right so that the front tire was already past it, and when I went to the right a little bit, it was in front of the back tire. Well, it was actually, the muffler comes in front of the back right tire.
Cool, the muffler.
So the muffler is in front of the tire, and so that's what's pinned against the this rock. And I'm like, oh shit. I mean, and then so I'm like, I get down, I squat down, and I bear hug the rock. Because I'm like, well, I'm just gonna move the rock. Will this rock move at all?
No.
And so this is when I realized that like,
strap your dogs up.
I can't. two mule team. I reached my hands around the rock. I could not get all the way around it. That's how big this rock was. And I go,
yeah. If I had been there, I would have said we shouldn't try that.
I mean, I was not panicking. That was what was important. I was like, I'm just testing things out here. And then I realized, okay, it's just against the muffler. And then I realized if I get back in the van and I turn the wheels totally to the left, I think I can just skirt this rock and avert disaster. And so I get back in the van and I do that, and thank God it works. And then I was kind of shaken up at that point, but we slowly drove out of there, and like there wasn't actually any damage to the van that's visible unless you like lay down and look underneath it. Which when I returned it, they didn't. I don't think they did that.
I wonder if they're fans of the show, though.
I hope not. It was just, it was just a little perturbed spot on the muffler. No big deal.
Normal wear and tear.
No, normal wear and tear.
We call that.
But it really gave me pause because I'm like, you just don't want to be out there in the middle of nowhere with just two Chihuahua poodles stuck. Now I was able to communicate, and if I had to walk, I could have hiked down to the town if I had to.
Yeah, it would have been a long
hike. And on this side, I probably could have hiked to that RV that was a spec. So I knew these things. Like I knew where I could find people and I could communicate, but it would have been a real shitty day.
Right.
Probably a shitty 2 days. So the lesson that I'm taking away is whenever you're in a place like that, Link, and you're about to drive off from anywhere, give it a circle. Just go around. You think you know what you're doing, but maybe something changed. Maybe a rock crawled up underneath.
A rock grew
underneath there in between your hike and when you parked. Just reacquaint yourself with all your surroundings. This is one of my takeaways from this trip is just you got to be responsible for yourself. You got to think about worst case scenarios and what you're going to do about it. Now that doesn't mean it's going to talk you out of doing things, but you got to have a plan. So I had some sketches of a plan. Right?
Concepts of a plan?
Yeah, as it's been said. I had concepts of a plan, but I didn't have a plan.
Right.
After that, I went back to the same spot, parked, and camped the second night, and didn't take any more big risks. I had Jasper tied up on a leash while I was in the van, and he was outside as like the sun hadn't set yet. It was like 4 o'clock by this time, and I had a blanket out there so I wouldn't track dirt into the van. And so I look out of the van and he's down there. He's at the absolute limit of the leash, like pulling as hard as he can. Now Jade is in the van and she's too little to jump down out of the van herself. So she was secured inside of the van. Jasper liked to sit outside, so I let him do that. He was like stretching and had his nose on the ground. He was like whimpering. He was like trying to get to the edge of the blanket. And he would not hush about it. And then I looked, I was like, what are you looking at? And I picked him up and put him in the van, and then I took this video. This is my sorry about my bare feet. That's for size reference. So you should see my blanket, and then right there.
Oh, wow.
That is a big ass tarantula just crawling.
I've never seen one of those in the wild.
Right there on the edge of my
He's coming
freaking
onto your
blanket.
thing.
He's crawling onto the blanket. And look, I'm grabbing the blanket and I'm shaking it to try to get him to run away. And look, nothing. Doesn't move at all.
You can pick him up.
Well, I was, and then he just wipes his butt with one of his legs and then he just stands there. So because he didn't move, like when I saw this and I freaked out because I'm not fond of spiders. And the bigger and the hairier they are, the less fond I am of them. But I do know some things.
8 legs.
They're not 8 legs.
Mm-hmm.
They're not poisonous. But I'm freaking out and I'm like talking to myself and saying like, okay, don't freak out. It's not poisonous, but I think they can throw their hairs as darts. And I don't know what that would do to a dog. And I don't know what a bite would do to a dog.
It would make them upset.
So for the next 2 hours, we stayed in the van with the door shut.
You didn't have anything to kind of sweep it away?
I looked out the window.
Or
and
to
he
pick
was
it up with something
he
and
was
just
still
move
there.
it?
Well, I tried with the thing. So then he was there, so I just locked myself in the van for a while.
Trapped by a spider.
And then when I came back out, I was like, you know what? I'm not letting this spider win. And so we went back out there.
Killed it.
No,
Just kidding.
after that time, he was gone.
Yep.
But you better believe I was checking my shoes before.
It's kind of crazy that you.
They're out there all over the place apparently.
Yeah, but the number of times that I've camped in the desert and I've seen scorpions.
Seen scorpions.
Never seen a tarantula, and I was just like, there's things named after tarantulas, and I'm like, maybe they're lying. Maybe they don't exist out here. They do.
My friend was telling me that when he was young, he was going like on an overlanding trip with his like dad or something, and they got to this place in the desert, and there was like a dark spot, and they were like, "What is that? Is that water? Is that a hole?" And then when they got close to it, it was just a huge pile of tarantulas.
Sex.
Sex?
Tarantula sex.
Oh, they do it in huge groups.
Yeah, or it's a tarantula orgy.
Going all across the road, and he said that they started slowing down and they drove as slow as they could, hoping that they would just like skitter away.
They were going across the road as a big group?
They were stationary. And he said that like as he drove over them, the crunching sound was like it was like Indiana Jones or something.
Okay, so he did kill them.
Well, he just had to drive. Well, he killed the ones that were under the tires, but there
Right.
were like hundreds of them.
Maybe it was a tarantula protest.
Think about what a nightmare that would be.
You never know. You never know what they were organizing for.
Yeah, they didn't have signs. Or if they did, he didn't tell me about the signs. He told me about the crunches, and it disturbed me. But yeah, that kind of scared me. But then after that, I checked my shoes and I started wearing shoes.
Yeah.
Outside. It wasn't just chilling out.
I noticed
barefoot
your blanket on the ground.
It's a moving blanket.
Do you know that they
Just found
highly recommend I got one from my trip, my last camping trip, that it's a blanket that lets the dirt through it and then stays on top.
I bought one of those for the beach.
You can use it while camping.
It's too thin. I need a cushionier blanket.
Put down the moving blanket, put that over the top of it.
Okay.
And then you keep
There's
the
no sand
surface
here.
clean.
It was too much. If there's sand, that would have helped, but this is only rocks and tarantulas. So
I'm glad you're okay.
I had a great time. I made it back. I'll do it again. I'm learning a little bit more.
Yeah,
every time.
I gotta go back out. I gotta schedule a solo trip.
The best thing though was at the you remember the episode where we both tried the wearable sleeping bags, and you had the cheap one and I had the expensive one.
Did you take that with you?
And I said I want this, and I took that with me, and it was the best thing I have ever experienced camping.
Yeah.
Like it was so good. It's amazing. Everyone should have one if you're camping in cold, windy conditions.
So you just wore it outside. Did you actually sleep in it?
No. Ear Biscuits is brought to you by BetterHelp.
You know, one of my favorite parts of the holiday season is when you forget what day it is.
Yeah, because they're all the same.
There's basically one time during the entire year in which you're like, it could be Saturday, it could be Wednesday, and I could not tell you. I'm gonna have to look at my phone.
It's like you're retired.
Because you've disengaged from the hustle and bustle of life.
For some people, it's wrapping up in a blanket with a mug of hot chocolate. I could dig it. They think that's the best way to spend the month of December.
Well, therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when the season changes.
We are huge advocates of therapy, so we want it to be as accessible as possible. So if you're thinking of starting, give BetterHelp a try.
It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge.
Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/ear today to get 10% off your first month.
That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ear. Let's hear a voicemail.
Hi, I absolutely love the podcast. My name is Brooke. I'm 20 and I'm looking for a little bit of advice.
Okay.
Due to an unfortunate family situation, I've got to change my last name. And so since I've got the opportunity, I want to change it to something cool or funny. It'd be a waste to, spend all this time and money just changing it to Smith or something. But I also don't want to regret it too much when I'm older, So I figured you guys are creative and funny guys, so you might have some suggestions. Any advice is welcome. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work.
Thank you for the compliments. It's Brooke, right?
Mm-hmm. I like Brooke's tone. I kind of see Brooke going like this.
Brooke seems pretty upbeat given the fact that they got to change their name for not upbeat reasons, it sounds. So this is turning lemonade into, I don't know, some sort of a sorbet.
Well, it's interesting, Brooke, that you mentioned Smith, because I think that this is an opportunity to name yourself in the way that people have always named themselves before we just became, just absolute victims of our culture, just woke up with a last name, is they would give themselves names. In fact, Smith comes from blacksmith, goldsmith, silversmith, people who were working with metals, and then they shortened it eventually to Smith or whatever.
Right, so, Jack comes from lumberjack. That's what those people were called, and then they just shortened it.
So all of the names, and even like McLaughlin, because like Lachlan was like of the lake or something like that, right? Yeah. It was based on, so
He gave you information.
You could, like, what are you into?
Well, she's not on the call right now.
Right, but like, I'm just saying, listen, we can assume some things she's into podcasts.
Okay.
Mickey Biscuits would be an example. I mean, there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity here.
Let's go a little
branding.
Brooke may like to listen to other podcasts.
Brooke McBiscuits.
No, Brooke McListener. Just listen. Brooke listens.
That sounds like I don't.
It sounds like the name of a podcast. So well, I mean,
I'm saying the thing
we don't know what she does,
or what she wants to do, and this is a way of manifesting it. She's 20. She could be embarking on a career. Be thinking about that.
Hollywood star.
Well, that's. I mean, let's be realistic here.
What's
the most common job?
A teller.
Just because statistically, since we don't know.
I mean, there's lots of tellers.
I think it's probably is it some sort of retail. Brooke, I'm putting a Mick in there because I'm partial. Brooke McRetail.
Brooke McMerchandiser. Brooke McTurn specialist.
It could be something that it's less about
Brooke McTarget employee.
Your vocation and more just like your sort of office in life, like Brooke McCitizen of the world.
Brooke McUpbeat.
And then it's kind of like a meta world piece.
Okay. I mean, she's upbeat. Brooke McUpbeat.
There's also putting O's in front of things.
Brooke, oh my God. Brooke OMG. Now, what about, I'm always a fan of doubling up. Brooke is a great name. Why change it? Brooke
Brooks.
Brooke Brooks.
Ooh, that is a weather.
There it is.
That is a weather woman or potential
and you still have the E from
newscaster.
Brooke.
Brooks.
It's spelled exactly the same as your first name, just add an S.
Traffic and weather on the 5s? With
Brooke
Brooks.
McBrookmanship. Brooke McBrooker. Brooke Brooker. Brooke Broken.
You could probably do.
Nope.
You could probably do Brooke. You could while you're doing it. You
Brooke
could
Breaker.
have Brooks. So there's a hyphen between.
Yeah, change your middle name too while you're at it.
No. This is I'm creating a hyphenated last name. Brooks. And you say it like you would say Brooks.
Brooks. Brooke Brooks.
What if she likes to read? Brooke books. Brooke books.
Brooke Books.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
That's good.
How about Brooke Shook?
It's kind of like Brooke Shields.
No, Brooke Shook.
Brooke Childs. Brooke Shook. Shook for Brooke, it would be like a poster if you were running for class president of a high school, you know?
Okay.
So let's not do that.
There's also an opportunity to bring some last names back that are just exist in like popular culture, like Doubtfire. So you can be called Miss Doubtfire.
You could do that.
What are some other famous last names that are not real that you can claim as your own?
Brooke Aurelius. Go a little Roman with it. What about, there's a branding opportunity here, you know? You could be Brooke Pepsi.
Yeah, maybe, and if we get involved with that, we could get a percentage.
Could you change your name to you could do that.
There are rules about this.
There's probably, I wonder, could you change your name to?
There are certain things that you cannot name yourself.
Because but trademarking doesn't prevent that.
I think it does.
Maybe it does.
Yeah. I think you can't be like Brooke Home Depot. I don't think you can do that. I think
you got to talk to them first,
trademark.
Brooke, you got to talk to Home Depot first. But
Brooke Lowe's, and after Lowe's, it depends on who's asking.
Exactly.
Because then you got covered.
But Home Depot is much more obvious than Lowe's.
Brooke Belk.
It's too regional.
Well, I don't know where she's
that
from.
department store hasn't made it everywhere.
Brooke Sky City.
What about your favorite food? Brooke chicken fingers.
Okay, I like that.
Brooke, or just Brooke fingers? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Brooke is it. You know what? We've come back around. That's it. And I applaud you for seeing the silver lining here. This is your opportunity to be creative and to be your future self. Take your identity by the horns and ride it into your future. Brooke.
And it could just be Brooks. Brooks. You don't have to spell out the whole Brook the second time.
No,
Brooke,
you don't.
Brooks.
Okay,
Brooke,
yeah.
Brooks.
So take it as you will. Take it as you will.
Solve that
Let
one.
us know. Let us know.
Let's hear another one.
We want to see a birth certificate or whatever it would be.
Hi, Link. Hi, Rhett. I am calling because I am the best man of a wedding coming up next summer, and I have never had to give a speech in public like I will have to next summer. And I'm pretty nervous. I know you don't know the circumstances of who I am or who the groom is, but I was hoping you could give some tips of what to say, what not to say, and what I can do to get over my nerves to give a speech. Thank you all so much. Love you. Say back.
I know we agree on one thing. Let's just get that out of the way. And this goes out.
That we don't say it back?
This is.
Yes, we agree on this.
This is a
Primo rule number
cardinal
one.
rule
Yes.
for speeches, and it is violated at least 60% of the time.
It's the most amateur move that you can make, and it's so tempting. And you think you think of it, and because you thought of it, you think you need to go with it.
Here's the rule. In your speech, do not reference your speech.
Yeah, don't talk about the speech.
Don't be like, when I was preparing for this speech, don't say that.
Don't you do
Just
it.
don't. Everyone wants to say
Never.
that. It's an amateur move. Don't do it. Take it out of there. Do not reference the speech in the speech.
You don't want to be meta world speech.
It's a sign of weakness.
All right? That's not you. You're better than this. You have thoughts about other things than what it is you're doing.
Because you don't want people listening to your speech to be thinking about the fact that it's a speech.
Yeah.
You're transcending speech.
Like you're speaking in order to say something.
It gets me every time, and it happens at most weddings. And I'm like, there they go again. When I was thinking about what to say, just think about what to say. Don't tell us that you're thinking about it.
You should have, just when you were thinking about what to say so that then you could say it. And now we want to hear it.
And here we are.
We want to hear it.
It's filler.
And the only thing that might be redeemable about it, and it's not, but it could be.
Are you about to confuse the issue?
No, I'm just saying one could make an argument, and I'm not making it.
Oh God.
That it endears you to the audience. It lets you they pull for you because they know you're not a professional speech giver. Obviously, you're talking about your speech. Saying you're nervous is like akin to this. It's like,
yeah, also don't do that.
Don't do that.
But that's somewhat forgivable because it just might be true.
And if you need to have something written down, that's okay. If this is the only speech you're ever gonna give, you can have some stuff jotted down. But maybe you don't have to just read it verbatim.
Okay, but hold on, because
I'm going off on this tangent because
that's the next place I wanted to go. So finish the thing about.
Gotcha. I'm just saying that you're putting yourself out there, you're showing some vulnerability, but there's better ways to show vulnerability than giving a backstory about how you had to think about what you were going to talk about. And because I think that's the reason. People who don't have confidence in their speech.
I know why people do it.
Well, why do you think people do it?
Yeah, because they're not confident and they don't do this on a regular basis. It might be the first time they're doing it.
Right. Okay.
And so you are thinking so much about the fact that you're giving a speech that it's the first thing that you want to say is you want to acknowledge the fact that I am doing the thing now that I am nervous about. Yeah. But just let that all happen internally, and then because it's one of the most, it's totally not engaging. It's not a great way to start the speech. And it also kind of makes the speech about you right out of the gate.
Exactly.
When I was thinking about what I would say,
right,
versus what's the person's name? Brooke McBrooks. Brooks. Start there.
Yep.
say their name first.
Yes. That's what you do. Because the other thing you might want to do is introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And let people know like the context with which you are related to this person, or why the heck are you the best man?
Right.
Don't do that either at first.
Yeah.
Here's a nice little thing. Just plan the first thing you're gonna say to the people. And we can have some thoughts about that.
I have a good idea for that.
And then at a certain point after that, but still early on in your preamble, introduce yourself. So you're gonna say a little something, and then that's your preamble, and then you're gonna introduce yourself. My name's Brooke Brooks, and I grew up with Mandy McManus.
Yep. I like that.
And then you keep going.
First thing you can say, and especially if you're nervous and you just need to adjust to the fact that you are standing up and all these people are looking at you. Mm-hmm. Even as someone who does this on a regular basis, in certain situations, especially like a wedding, I'm gonna be very nervous.
High pressure.
I'm not nervous if I'm in front of a bunch of mythical beasts because we all know what's going on.
Right.
But mixed company, I don't know. I lose it in those situations.
How do you think I feel? I know people don't know how to take me.
Right.
So it's like,
I think a good way to start is to just say the couple's name, John and Amanda, and then smile, and then maybe make some like,
Yeah.
You just let John and Amanda. You can say it up to 3 times.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
I think you can.
And this is you just, my mouth still works.
Right.
I don't have to tell you about when I was preparing for this, John and Amanda. Amanda and John. You can reverse it. You should. It's 2024.
But then if you're doing it 3 times, you're re-reversing it, so it sounds like you've decided which way sounds better. That's not great. Amanda and John. No, let's go with John.
I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just saying it's a potential way to start if you're nervous. But to the point of...
but make sure that you have something to say after that.
I love the fact that you're talking about, I remember the first time I ever saw Amanda. It was through her window in her backyard.
Yep. No. Thought maybe I could marry her.
So typically you wouldn't, so if you're the best man, you would not say, I remember the first time I saw Amanda. I remember the first time I saw John. And so this is to use a story to establish your connection with the couple.
And this is your life experience.
And then I remember
you should be able to tell this without reading off a sheet of paper.
And to the point of reading versus not reading. Again, I agree with Link. It's not bad to have something written down if you're gonna be super nervous. But my strong suggestion is that whether you write it down or not, there should be a speech written down somewhere that's an outline of the ideas that you want to cover, of the concepts that you want to cover. And if you can memorize that outline, or if you need to look at that outline, totally fine.
Yeah.
Encouraged, if not. But, and if you have to read it word for word, it's better than not doing a speech, but it's only a little bit better. Just being honest.
All right.
You're asking for the best possible advice here to make the best possible speech. We're gonna give it to you.
Here's a hack for that though. If you feel like you need some tracks to run on and you wanna read, after you've done your preamble, which is just saying the names 2 to 3 times with the right expression afterward, and then you introduce yourself and how you know the groom.
Via story. Because then you're off to the races.
It's a short story. Then if you still need something, you can have something that you're motivated to read. Like, I'm going to read the email that John sent to me when he first met Amanda.
Yeah. Or the text, most likely.
And then you're actually reading something, and you have complete tracks to run on, and it's motivated to read it. You wouldn't have memorized this. You need to read it. And then you're feeling more confident. You've gotten some engagement. You might have even gotten some laughs, definitely smiles. And then you're off to the races. And then after that, you're just gonna say one thing. And I don't know, I don't think it needs to be advice. I don't think it should be advice. I think it should be
something that inspires you about
sharing of hopes. Sharing of hopes. And then at the end, you can make it a little bit about you. Like if you want to plug your Instagram.
Yeah, your podcast.
Or your podcast or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you've won them over. Now is the time to just really capitalize on this moment for yourself. Maybe there's a GoFundMe.
I spent so much time preparing for this speech.
I had to quit my job.
I had to call in sick to work. I have a GoFundMe to make up the difference.
And then you pass the plate and sit down.
Keep it short. Keep it short.
Keep it short.
Shorter than you think you need to keep it, and practice it and time it. You got to do this. You got to practice it and you got to time it. And don't try to go off the cuff.
I want to wing it so bad because I hate planning, and it hurts so much to like plan a speech and to say it out loud in a room by yourself. Much less to run it against somebody. But you have to do it.
No, but this is why
just do it.
The beautiful medium.
Just do it.
The beautiful medium here is, or compromise between those two things, is not planning every single word, but planning the conceptual aspects and the flow of the speech is something that you need, and you need to practice a couple of times, and you can change some things up. Also, I think the humor should not come from planned jokes.
Right.
That may not work, but if there's gonna be humor, and there doesn't have to be, if you're not funny, don't try to be, but something like, oh, I've got this text that John sent me about Amanda one time. Now you're just relaying factual information that will make people laugh.
Yeah, that's what you want.
You find that kind of thing, something real and authentic that's not like, oh, he looked up a joke online or something.
Right.
You can think of funny things that have happened. You can think of a funny story. You can find a funny text. Let that be the source of the humor. Keep it under 3 minutes.
Yeah, which is going to require
and
practice.
that's going to come real fast.
And I was joking about the plug at the end. You got to have a strong closer. You got to have the last thing that you're going to say.
And that can't be, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's, again, just as important as the beginning not being about preparing the speech. You can't have a word that's like, well, that's it.
Thank you. Don't even say thank you. Your objective is not even, you want to say something so you don't have to say thank you.
I think the easiest thing to do, because assuming this is at the reception, you've got your glass in hand, you say the last thing and you say, to John and Amanda. And then you sit your ass down.
Or Amanda and John. Let's go with John and Amanda. And then you got a throwback. So
yeah, maybe.
If that worked at the beginning, you could do that at the end. But just what you got to have that mic drop moment. You got to know when to stop talking.
And don't say okay at the end.
I'm so bad at that.
Okay.
I'm so bad at this. I don't plan, and I'm just going to wing it, and it's going to be honest, and people are going to feel it, and that's going to carry me. And
there's a time and a place for a completely off the cuff.
That's the middle. That's the middle.
And something may come.
It's not the beginning and it's not the end. It's just the middle. It's the safe little scrumptious middle where anything goes because people are only going to remember the end. Or the middle if it goes good, or really bad.
But the thing is just because something was premeditated does not mean it's not authentic. Those things are mutually exclusive.
No, I'm saying I use that as a ploy so I don't plan, and it's a falsehood. We're really passionate about this.
Well, because I don't know. It's just every time I see it happening, I'm like,
Right.
I have some thoughts. I have some notes.
And we haven't even taken Toastmasters.
No.
This is groups of people who get together and they learn how to talk in public. And it really works. They'll take you through things like where to put your feet and where you stand and where to put your hands.
Yeah, spread the legs.
Spread the legs.
Oh.
Gestures.
But the thing
no pointing.
The title of this episode, we have to talk about this.
Our best man speeches for each other.
I did not give Link a best man speech because I was not his best man.
I did not give Rhett a best man speech because I was not his best man.
And the only reason Link wasn't my best man is because he got married first and didn't make me his best man.
Yep, so
I wasn't going to return the non-favor.
So I was not Rhett's best man out of revenge. But you were not my best man out of tradition. The daddy is the best man.
Yeah, and that's true for me as well. In the South, for some reason, your best man is your dad, which, now this is not, I'm sure that there are people who got married in the South who didn't do this, but it was tradition in the circles that we ran in for your dad to be your best man, which he's your dad. It just feels like it's an opportunity for someone who's actually, not because of biological reasons, but because of life circumstances and choices, is your best man. Your dad's your dad. He's still there. He's still in the wedding party. Whatever, you know? I'm not saying that your dad's not your best man.
Rhett's clearly still hurt by this.
But what would have happened to, well, no, here's the thing. In my wedding, if it wasn't my dad, a lot of people would have expected to be my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So making it my dad was actually an easy way out to not be like, well, it's my brother or Link. It's like everyone's thinking that it's gonna be Link.
In fairness though, your dad can give a good speech. And your brother can give a good speech.
Oh, they're both great at it.
But better than me. Is that what you're thinking?
Oh yeah.
Is that the real reason?
No, I don't even remember. We also I don't remember what the reception, I don't remember how speeches happened in my reception.
I don't remember that either.
Or your wedding. I remember your rehearsal dinner speech, which we've talked about before.
But don't address each person individually at any party from a place of giving the speech. Don't do that.
That's uncalled for.
Nobody wanted that. I did that, nobody wanted
This is what happens when you don't plan. When you wing it and then you create absolute mayhem.
An epic long speech. I mean, you can't even call it a speech. It's almost like when does somebody get up and they just read forever? I wasn't reading, it was off the cuff, but it was just like babbling.
Very babbly.
Personalized babbling. I'm gonna babble about you and you. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I'll renew my vows. You want to be the best man? See, now I feel like my dad still needs to be the best man.
For a vow renewal? I don't think there is a best man.
Well, I would only be doing it for you.
So I could do a speech?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with you and Christy.
I keep telling Christy, the last thing I want to do is a vow renewal.
I don't believe it. I'm happy for people who do it.
A destination, it implies this. Vow renewals are for people who the marriage they had to piece it back together.
Yeah, and if that's the case,
then go for it. It's a great thing.
It's like a rededication. It's like I got saved, and then I got actually saved.
You backslid.
I got saved, and then I got saved again because I wasn't sure if I got saved the first time, and then I'd rededicated later.
Because you were actually saved, so that's why it's a rededication. Yeah. You're manning up. And you're saying, I'm gonna do the right thing.
And so in a marriage,
that's what renewing the vows are for. It's a public.
You guys have a way out of this though. Your birthdays are so close to each other that you could have a birthday extravaganza and you also are turning the same age, right?
So you want to be the best man at my birthday?
No. I'm just saying that if you want to create a destination, like when y'all turn 50.
Yes.
First of all, I'm gonna do something for my 50th. Oh. I don't know what it's gonna be, but it's gonna be the biggest party I've ever had.
And then mine will be after, so I'll be able to top it.
Yeah. And there's a difference in doing a party in town with a lot of people or a destination where just your closest friends are willing to go out of their way to go someplace. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to leave California for that.
That's true. It's a beautiful state. Lots of desert.
But that's the beauty about y'all's birthdays being so close to each other is that
we can make a bigger deal out of it.
Yeah, you can do a co-birthday party, which you've done before.
And then you want to give a speech there. I would like that. And I would like for you to be the best man at my birthday.
I just got it. I'm the best birthday man?
I would like for you to be my best birthday man. Not my dad. Okay. He's invited, but he'll be my dad.
Because this is such a novel thing, I might start my speech with, when I was asked to be Link's best birthday man. I was like, what the hell is that? Because then I'll get a laugh. I might violate my own rule.
You can't do it. Come on, I take it back. My dad's going to do it.
You can have more than one toast. I would like to
But there's only one best
Let me just
man.
say, I got a lot of advice about this, and I think given the time to prepare, I could do a really good job. What I'm not good at is the impromptu, oh, I didn't know and people were saying things. Like
You're not bad at that, no. Because once you can tell that it could happen, I can tell you go into that mode. And here's a good thing that you do. Like your brows furrow and you're like, you start brewing it up. Cause you're not gonna wing it, you're gonna plan something, you're gonna plan an opening.
But you know who is like expert at this?
Yeah, Mike
McHarg.
Oh yeah.
And I can tell when he's coming up with something too, because he doesn't furrow his brow. He just sort of like gives a soft focus.
Yeah.
And the brain starts going to work.
Right. And you do not let him go before you.
Oh no. You let him go last.
Yeah. And he knows that.
Yeah. And
because if he goes first and it's popcorn, ain't no more kernels are going
well,
pop.
the reason he's so good at it is what he has the ability to do is he has the ability to construct the entire speech in his mind and then just say it.
Yeah.
And so you can see he's like piecing it together and he's like,
it's not a fair comparison.
He's writing it and then he's just going into that file in his brain and just reading it from it.
I think
most people can't do that.
The best thing, and you're good at this, is whenever you're put on the spot, or even when you've got something planned, the best thing to do is like you're reading the room and you're present with the previous things that have happened. If there's people who've spoken before you or if things have happened, like the 10 minutes leading up to you talking, you're looking for something that you can acknowledge or refer to. That's just like, and it's not really the start of your speech. It's almost like it's like a soft launch. Like when they open a restaurant.
5 minutes ago when somebody farted and no one said anything?
That was me.
That was me.
Right. And that doesn't count as speech. That's like
but you get the crowd on your side.
Like your mouth works and you're running you're ramping up to your actual speech.
Right. Yeah.
We should masterclass this shit, man.
I love this kind of stuff because I think this is what makes things more fun. It makes like when somebody gets up and just knocks a speech out of the park.
It feels so good.
Everyone's like, holy shit, whose dad is that? Like,
right.
I'm just saying,
yes,
it makes everyone feel good. Everyone's like, that was awesome.
And growing up, that was the type of entertainer we could aspire to be.
Yeah.
Like, because we didn't know what else we could do. It's like, I mean, the whole reason we're here right now is because we turned the rehearsal dinner speech for Greg into a comedy song.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the whole reason that we're here now.
Right.
Because that was our audience. That's why we thought about this so much.
Also,
like
growing up in the church though, because you've got like
you got the little speeches that
you
happen.
might have to give announcements this Sunday.
Yep.
I mean, I preached a sermon at least once.
Yeah, but like giving announcements or like praying before a meal or like orienting people where how to go through the potluck. Like, I mean, church is full of popcorn type impromptu speeches.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of social settings just in the secular world where that happens. And so people aren't great at it. But you get people who come up in church and they are one of the people that have had to say some stuff.
Yeah. I might go back to church just for the audience.
I'm here, I don't believe any of this stuff, but I love to talk.
And the bar's lower.
I get in where I can fit in.
It's like what, I mean, I see that clip of, that Tim Robinson clip. It's not from I Think You Should Leave, it's from his Detroiters, where he goes up to that guy, the pastor, and he was like, I just want to let you know that was funny. That was only funny because you're at church. Because you're at church. Or was it a funeral? I can't remember. He was just making the point. That was only as funny as it was because nobody expected it to be funny.
Yeah, and boy, we know about those environments.
That has been the key to our success.
We thrived in those environments.
Yeah.
Where it was like, I wasn't expecting this to happen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's not hard.
It's almost uncalled for.
To exceed expectations because they're low or spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that's my in back into church. ripe crowds ready to laugh.
Maybe you could like Kiwanis.
Yep, I could be like more Chamber of Commerce oriented.
I don't want to have to adopt a dogma, that I don't believe.
Right. All right. Well, good luck with that. I feel really good about it, I think. I think we gave so much advice it was overwhelming. But you have time. Just
Yeah, did we build it up?
just play it again and again.
Yeah, here's the last thing to say. No one's going to be thinking about it as much as you are. I mean, we just said that a great speech makes or breaks the entire reception.
For us, but we won't be there.
I know we implied that. Like, you in your hands hold the power to make everyone have a good time or everyone have a bad time, but I want you to know that it's really not that big of a deal. You're going to be okay. You're going to do great.
Yeah, you're going to do
if
great.
You follow everything
if you do
that
what
we
said.
Hey,
which is why we have a number. I mean, you call it, we listen to what you have to say, and then we talk a whole lot about it. Yep. 1-888-EARPOD1.
Next week, we're going to be doing our top moments. That's right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so
episode of the year.
We are, I've already gone through. I've already gone through my photos to figure out what happened to me.
I'm going to wing it this year.
Okay. And I haven't put mine in order yet, but I am excited to share those with you and with you.
All right. Talk at you next week.
Hey, Rhett Link. My name's Mike. I'm from Michigan. I was in the Army for about 10 years. And I just want to say that you guys have helped with my PTSD and getting through a lot of dark times, so thank you. But listening to this week's podcast, and I have an idea for a shirt. Where the hell is it? Let's go, Link. Let's make that shirt. Where the hell is it? And I will buy one. Thanks, boys. Love you.